What's the appeal of Power Rangers? Well, before I answer this question, I think I should talk about my favorite series. Being the 17th series, Power Rangers RPM is the last of the Disney era of the long-running franchise. RPM is a mix of both self-aware and dark. It has the interesting premise of the show basically beginning after the Rangers have lost. Over 90% of the human population has already been wiped out, and there's only one safe and protected city left, with the rest of the planet assumedly being a Mad Max-style wasteland. Of course, this means that RPM is set in an alternate timeline to previous seasons, but this is a change that raises the stakes and strengthens the darker elements. On top of this, I think that RPM is a straight up good show, even if you separate it into a standalone story. It's shorter than certain older Power Rangers seasons at only 31 episodes long, two of which not being connected to the story at all, which means that its runtime is focused less on the Monster of the Week structure and more on the character development and long-running plot. The story really hooked me in with the introduction of its mystery right at the beginning. The way that the first episode was focused on a seemingly unimportant civilian character who then gets saved by the Rangers right at the end of the episode is an inventive way of building tension and playing with my expectations. I mentioned earlier that RPM is self-aware.
Could you please tell me, where do you get your spandex?
That is not spandex! The material is a self-assembling memory.
It may be the darkest Power Rangers series to date, but it isn't afraid to lovingly make fun of its roots and embrace the franchise with open arms. Just one example of this would be that early on, one of the characters asks why explosions always appear behind the Power Rangers after they transform. The show does actually explain this by saying it's a way of expelling excess energy from the transformation, but they take this a step further by having the characters take advantage of this by positioning themselves so that the explosion ends up damaging their opponents.
Sometimes when I morph, I can't help but notice this gigantic explosion right behind me for no apparent reason.
I assume you're referring to the residual energy runoff that is sometimes necessary to clear the suit's biofield channels during the morph.
I'm referring to the 6-story high fireballs like that one, right there.
And there are quite a few more examples of similar self-aware things happening, and I adore the way the show just runs with it and gives these tropes new usefulness and meaning. And that's why I said lovingly make fun of, because this series treats the franchise and its fans with respect by expanding upon and playing with the tropes rather than just laughing at them and outright ridiculing them. Every other aspect of RPM feels like it's had this amount of love and care put into it as well. Each Ranger has a different backstory and different ideals, so it's always interesting to see how they interact with each other. They clash, they fight, they think differently, but ultimately, they find common ground and learn to work together as the team keeps growing bigger. The characters still manage to have fun and goof around despite humans being on the brink of extinction. The darker elements are good too, since they helped raise the stakes and made me care about the characters and action even more than other series. I feel like it really hits the right balance for me. It's dark enough to be taken seriously, but playful enough that kids will still enjoy it, and it can stay true to the aforementioned Power Rangers tropes. RPM is still a lot of fun to watch, and it doesn't sacrifice any of that fun by being too dark for its own good. So, what's the appeal of Power Rangers? Well, I think it's to do with the tone, the ability to have exciting action, but also the fun lightheartedness. The posing, the explosions, the catchphrases, the giant robot fights, the gadgets, and the weapons. Power Rangers is fun. It's far from a perfect franchise, and it's certainly not for everyone, but Power Rangers has obviously had a lot of passion put into it, especially now that the people working on it were the right age to watch the first few series as a kid. And that's why I'm looking forward to seeing that also controversial movie too.
You know what I'm saying? Like, sometimes actors get in these things, you want to make sure that they really are passionate about it, and you could tell talking to them that they are very excited, that they did everything they need to do, training-wise, acting-wise, to be like, we got to take this seriously. And I talked to a couple of them like, yeah, we feel the pressure. You know, like, we know that people are looking at this hard and saying, you know, you got to respect the Power Ranger legacy with this, and that's cool. It's good to know that they are thinking about this, not just thinking like, oh, here's just some random gig I got. But
the cast and crew are indeed fans that understand the importance of the franchise and want to try taking it in a more serious but still fun direction, just like RPM.